Good evening and welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us for the next 30 minutes as we talk about the good, bad, and ugly of relationships. A huge shout out to our sponsors, La Rosa's and Buffalo Wings and Rings in Greendale, Indiana, Greendale Cinemas, and Maxwell Construction. We are so thankful for these local businesses who have made this show possible. So whether you are listening live or online, Rock Solid Radio, helping to strengthen our community one family at a time on your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3.
Good evening, Eagle Country. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Linda Hutchinson, Executive Director of Rock Solid Families. And Hun, tonight's show.
Well, if it's okay, I'm going to step outside and I'm going to let you record this one by yourself, babe. How about that?
It's probably one of the most challenging seasons as a parent. We're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, this one, if you open up our refrigerator, you'll see it as another serving of humble pie.
Parenting teenagers is what we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
I see more parents reaching out online, asking for help in raising a teenager, Hun. We have more parents walking in our doors saying, help, I have no idea. And we're like, hey, neither do we, so we're good.
Yeah, they usually have torn, battered clothing and yeah.
They've been in a war zone.
We're having some fun with this, but you know, parenting teens is challenging, but there's really some basic premises going on here. And if you're in the teen world right now, then we're going to try to help you. But a lot of our information is also if you're not in the teen world yet.
Yes.
We really want to come alongside of you because there's some things that we can put into place a little bit earlier in the raising of kids that can make getting through the teen years so much I'll say easier. Maybe that's not the right word, but it can make it smoother. So.
Yeah. We also have some listeners out there that maybe have already raised teens, and that didn't go so well. And so now they're raising grandchildren because of the choices that their adult children have made. So maybe you're like, oh, I need some help to do this right the second time around. So please keep listening because, you know, we definitely know. Before we jump into this, though, let me shout out to all the moms and dads of teenagers out there in Eagle Country. I just want to make sure you know you are not alone, and you can survive.
And you're not the first person to ever go through this, and I think that's always some perspective.
Yeah, we are living proof. We have 2 adult sons who are almost 28 and 25, and now we have 3 more in the house. So we are in the trenches with you. Our kids in the house are 15, 13, and 11. So we are in the middle of a storm. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's a different experience.
It is.
Right? I mean,
it was 10 years ago.
Not all teens are the same. The environment they're growing up in is a little bit different, and backgrounds and genetics and all these different things come in. So a lot of things that we're going to talk about, you kind of have to generalize a little bit because every kid is a little different. And it comes with a different setting on you know who they are.
But also, like we have found, you know, we parented in a 10-year span of differences, and so just in 10 years, how different it's been from parenting our older 2 to our younger 3. So it's definitely changing, and you can't really compare it to how you were raised because so many things are changing.
Yeah, well, they didn't even have electric when we were, you know, that was way old.
They had TV
Hey, we better thank for our electric right now. So, hey, thanks to Maxwell Construction, Buffalo Wings and Rings, Greendale Cinemas, and La Rosa's Pizza. We want to thank our sponsors for hanging in there with us and continuing to support us. You know, while we're thanking those guys, I would also like to kind of put a push out there. Hun, you and I started Rock Solid Families actually back in the summer of 2018, and we've been completely blessed to have this opportunity. But we have to continue to figure out how to keep doing what we're doing. We're offering a lot of coaching services for marriage, for parenting, for fitness as well, and just taking care of faith, family, and fitness with our families. And we try to help just about anybody that we can. And sometimes money comes into play. Sometimes people cannot afford to do what they need to have done in their life or the service they need to receive. And so we are asking if you believe in what we are doing with Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio, if you would come behind us or alongside of us and help support us
Yeah.
financially with your
With prayers as well.
With prayers, with advertisement, just with pumping some of the stuff. If you see an article that you like on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, help us by moving that stuff around.
Yeah.
It just helps us grow. And the bottom line is we want to do what we believe God has called us to do, but we need your help to do it. And so we don't want to be so prideful. Remember, we talked about pride last week.
Yeah.
We don't want to be so prideful that hey, we need to be humble, and we need you guys to help us. So we pray that you would see that.
And we also are offering a lot of free resources in the schools and the churches, the local jails, court system. So we need your help to do that. And if you have been blessed by Rock Solid Radio or Rock Solid Families, whether it be the radio show, whether it be coming in, a class we've done, could you just maybe go on Facebook? We have a Rock Solid Families Facebook page and review for us and just give us a shout out. We don't know you're listening unless you let us know, unless you put something out there. So please, that's how we continue to get funded. That's how we continue to get traction. So we need your help to know you're listening and you're out there. So rocksolidfamilies.org for more information.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about a couple of announcements coming up, some events coming up. Next weekend, we start, excuse me, got all choked up about that. We start our next session of Strong Dads.
Can't wait.
8-week session on Saturday mornings from 7:30 to 9 a.m. Can't wait to get that rolling. I still have a few spots open. And so I just am asking that if you, as a young dad or even an old dad, if you just want to be part of a really cool men's group where we add a little bit of fitness and taking care of our body along with some great discussion about how to be good husbands and good fathers, this is going to be the place for you.
Yeah.
I can handle about 12 to 15 people. And so, like I said, I got a few spots left. Contact me. You can call me at 812-576-ROCK. That's 7625. So give me a call. Shoot me an email. That's hutch@rocksolidfamily.org. And
rocksolidfamilies.org.
Families, that's right. Don't forget the S. And let me know if you're interested. And I do ask that you do try to reach out and contact us because I don't want you to show up and us have like 30 people show up and I can't really make that work. So reach out to me.
Especially if you're a parent of a teenager. We're going to be talking about parenting teenagers tonight if you just joined us.
It's not even possible.
And so, that definitely, to find some support and encouragement there will be great. Also, speaking of teenagers, we are going to be continuing our parenting series at Bright Elementary on Wednesday, April 24th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Bright Elementary Library. You don't have to go to Bright Elementary to come, but this topic is really hot for those who have teenagers, and that is parenting in a tech-heavy world. And so even if you have smaller children, this would be a really relevant topic to come. Find out, how can I balance what's going on in my home with technology and social media? So we would love for you to join us on April 24th. So, Hun, why this topic? This is why.
That's what I've been asking you the whole time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Many parents we see that have teenagers are weary, Hun. They are exhausted.
Yeah.
And they are beat up, And so because of that, many of them have given up or given in to the demands and the pressure that their teenagers are putting on them. We believe at Rock Solid Families that there is a better alternative. And if you have a teenager in the house, now is not the time to isolate yourself or to turn a blind eye. It's really easy to pull the head covers over your head, Hun, and say, but we think we have some very practical suggestions that may help you.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about before, you mentioned the word isolate. We see that, by the way, like I said earlier, we've been raising teens for thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, not us.
Yeah, no, teens, somehow they got to be adults,
we're old,
right?
But not that old.
And so, but one of the things that has made it even more interesting is the isolation. There was a time when it was hard to isolate. Your kids couldn't hide from you. You couldn't hide from them. And now with our technology, we can all hide from each other in the same room.
Sometimes kids aren't even going to school. They're going to school online, sitting in their bed or at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
So they don't even have to go into a school building anymore.
Yeah, so the isolation, we used to have a room called the family room, and now we have things like man caves and different
Bedrooms.
things like that, bedrooms. And so that's not to say that those can't exist, but it is worth having the conversation about what is this doing to our parenting and ultimately to our kids. So we're going to have a little bit of discussion about that.
Yeah. So anyway, just for some vocabulary sakes, anyone born from 1997, some say 1995, 96, on, has been placed in a new generation that many are calling Gen Z or the I generation, or post-millennials. They haven't really landed on a term for sure, but Gen Z seems to be the one.
You mean there's something besides baby boomers? Are you serious? Oh, I didn't even know about all these.
So that would include our current teenagers. So they're not millennials. The millennials are past now, and so we're dealing with Gen Z. So our teens, this is so interesting. They have no personal firsthand knowledge of 9/11.
And that is hard to believe because our older kids do.
Yeah.
They experience that. Our younger kids
they don't
even really understand 9/11 and why.
Even if they were born at 9/11, they don't remember anything. Or the whole idea of global terrorism, the whole idea that, we're worried about bombers or, ISIS. It's just crazy. Or a time without technology. They do not remember a time without an iPhone.
Yeah.
And, the research is ongoing, by the way. The jury is still out on the effects of 24/7, the digital age that our teens are in. But you can bet, it's not without a cost.
Well, yeah, we say that the jury's still out, but the information is coming in so quickly about the destruction, and not just to our teens. We've had this conversation so often. It's with all of us in terms of how it's altering how we
it's disintegrating
develop relationships.
Yeah.
So here we go. We're talking about teens and a new generation of teens. So how do we go about walking through raising these kiddos? Okay.
So, they do see themselves as master multitaskers. They're able to listen to music, do homework, and talk on the phone all at the same time. Their mentality, by the way, that mentality has really led to a lot of stressed out and sleep-deprived teens. I think that's really, really important that we acknowledge right now, because there's so many parents that have said, I don't even know where this kid came from. How did this happen? I had one mom recently that was talking about their child and all of the emotional turmoil that he's going through, and cutting and suicide and depression. And, it's like, But he also goes to his room for hours and hours and hours and is on his phone and his tablet and his computer. And so we've got a lot of issues here dealing around technology and the effects of it's doing on their emotional habits.
Yeah. So we kind of know who we're talking about now, right? We're talking about teens. We're talking about teens in a new generation, a different generation. Let's talk a little bit about, so I know all this stuff that we're in, but what do I need to do to parent these kids through this time?
It's going to be messy, babe. It's going to be messy. There's a spiritual battle for the heart and mind of your teen. But I will say, take heart. God has overcome the world, and there is something beautiful on the other side. We have seen it. We have 2 adult children. But I will tell you, there is no quick fix. It's not a magic bullet. It's not an instant cure. But instead, it's a very consistent, predictable pattern that can happen and change. And you can, believe me, you can reap a harvest of blessings and righteousness that comes from that. So do not give up if your results don't come in a week. Get rid of that whole idea of the perfect child. Even the best kids mess up.
Absolutely.
Best adults mess up, so we have some practical tools, I think, that help you have some peace.
Yeah, I like what Albert Schweitzer says here. Example is not the main thing influencing the others. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. What are we modeling for our teens?
Yeah, this is number one.
Yeah, we're expecting a certain behavior, or we get frustrated when we don't get this behavior. And so the very first thing we really have to do is, what is our part in this?
Right.
Okay?
What's happening in the home?
And again, we're not going to own their problem, but we do need to own our part of this relationship.
Yeah.
And so first off, like you said, there's no quick fixes here, but oftentimes kids will do what they've been trained to do.
Or what they see.
What they've seen. And so we have to take a good quick look in the mirror again and say, okay, so what am I showing my kids? And, this hits home to me here. What about yelling and nagging? Yelling and nagging, right? If you're constantly yelling, which I can't tell you, we've talked about this in previous shows, the number of times that I've worked with parents that when we talk about, disciplining your kids, and they're totally convinced that they discipline their kids, and all of a sudden you start to hear like what their methodology is, and it's screaming and yelling.
Yep.
And screaming and yelling is not discipline.
Right.
All right? It's an insecurity that is trying to exert a power play, right, over the other person.
And it backfires.
And it is not discipline,
Yeah.
okay? So if you're a yeller, stop yelling. Okay?
Yeah. I had a couple one time talk to me about their sarcastic daughter. And oh my gosh, every word out of her mouth was a sarcastic, flippant comment.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had to have mom and dad look in the mirror and say, how are you talking to each other?
Yeah.
How do you talk to them? They're the two of the most sarcastic people I know. It's like, guess what? She's going to dish what she's seeing and what she's hearing. So you have to change your tone and tune if that's what you want out of your child.
Right. I struggle with that because I like to be the jokester and Mr. Funny. And
you want some of this? You want some of this?
And our younger one is of that nature as well.
Yep.
And so he and I can banter back and forth and have fun. But so now what I've had to learn is to teach him right time, right place.
Right.
Because shame on me for him dishing something back out at me that the day before would have worked perfectly fine because I was doing it.
Yeah.
But today he does it and he gets in trouble. And so we have to be aware of how our kids are receiving it and how they're using it because it only ends up irritating us when they throw it right back at us.
If you want honesty and trustworthiness from your children, then you have to make sure that your words are honest and trustworthy.
Yeah.
So they can't catch you in a lie. They can't keep having you let them down over and over and over again because then your word means nothing. And they're going to just think, okay, well, that's what we do. We say we'll do it, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
We say, we lie and we manipulate. So you got to really take an honest look. Remember we talked last week about looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And what are you teaching them?
But, honesty is a tough thing because you expect that your kids are honest with you, but do you set the stage up for them to be successfully honest with you? If you expect that they're honest, and as soon as they're honest with something that bothers you or hurts you, and you completely climb all over their case and practically annihilate them, they're not going to be willing to come back with that truth again. So part of it is, okay, I've asked you to be honest, but now you've got to allow, that doesn't mean they don't get consequences for being honest, but you have to manage, okay, I just got the truth out of my kid. Protecting the truth will allow trust and honesty to persevere in the long run.
Yeah, that is so tough with the teenager, too, to give them a safe place to go. And, I just saw this the other day of one parent saying, it was just at church yesterday talking about a father that gives a safe place for their child and wants to go to their father when they're in trouble versus afraid of their father when they're in trouble.
Right. He calls his father when he's in trouble versus being worried that his father's going to call him when he's in trouble.
Yeah. So, just to... we need to lead with faith and hope and love and give them a purpose. If you personally don't have that in your life, how do you expect that from your teens? There's so much hopelessness.
Yeah.
There's so much stress for our kids right now, our teens especially, that we've got to give them a place where they can have faith, where they can find hope, where they can have love, so they can give a purpose to them in their lives.
The other part of this is, you're asking to lead in faith, hope, and love, but you can't expect that they understand you.
Yeah.
Right? Their brain is not quite developed in a way.
Prefrontal cortex.
So much of this is very interesting to me because, we've spent quite a bit of time in past shows and articles we've written about terrible twos. And terrible twos become such a trying time as a parent.
I'm sure there's some Eagle Country listeners
out
there.
The child discovers himself within the world, and he doesn't realize that there's a lot of world out there, and he thinks he's the center of it. Well, teenagers are not always a whole lot different because, both naturally, their biology is beginning to change, their brain is beginning to change, but it is not adult by any means. It's
not until their early 20s is it fully developed.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Well, mine's still developing. That's what's really cool. Yeah, and so the development of the brain is not there, and their ability to understand you
And regulate.
and
Yep.
to walk with you
Self-regulate,
on
yeah.
an issue is
Yeah.
just not there.
No, it's not. And you can't expect it. Speaking of which, on ESS, electronic screen syndrome, we are seeing this more and more in kids. We talked about this back in a December 2nd show called Parenting in a Tech-Heavy World. If you have a short-tempered or irritable teen whose behavior is slipping, grades are slipping, you may want to try an electronic fast. I can't tell you. I was reading a book called Reset Your Child's Brain by Dr. Victoria Dunkley, and this has been powerful. I'm working with a family right now who came in with some teenagers who were definitely in some situations, but when we dug down deep, all the kids were just going to the room and spending hours and hours and hours in isolation on a digital device. And so we did a little electronic fast, and I'm telling you, it has changed the dynamic in that house very quickly.
Yeah.
And the parents are overwhelmingly excited, and they are seeing also some freedom for themselves because they kind of applied the same principles to their lives.
Right. Well, it also allows you to start doing a little bit more interacting with
Yes.
your teen.
Yeah.
The idea, we talked about that before, the isolation concept, and it just happens so easily that we've got to stop isolating
Yeah.
and start engaging.
Absolutely.
And simple things like having a more habitual pattern of sitting around the table and
Yeah,
talking.
eating dinner together.
Yeah, driving together and talking, doing things and having conversation. And again, it's not browbeating.
Right.
It's not sitting
No
around
lectures.
the table and lecturing and
Right.
telling them how it should be, but instead it's, hey, let's just have conversation.
Yeah.
You will be deeper into understanding their world and how they perceive it, and they will actually
Yep.
start to grasp a little bit more of what you are expecting.
Yeah, we love around the dinner table, and it's so hard with teenagers because they've got practices and all these after-school activities, so you have to be really, really intentional about finding that time. But it's really cool to be doing that at the dinner table, and our kids love it. Highs and lows. What was your high of the day? What was your low of the day? And
They
you get
bring it up,
They
which
do
is
bring
really
it up.
interesting. They bring it up at the dinner table.
Yeah, and I think they want to share. They want to share their day. They want to share their struggles, and just little conversations like that.
Yeah.
Asking questions, not probing like you're interrogating them, but just interested and to listen more than you give answers for.
Right.
You know?
So much, hon, as we're talking here, so much of this is kind of reminding me, is all we're doing really is developing relationship.
Yeah.
Okay? And in saying that, relationship, it's parenting relationship.
Yes.
It's not friend
They're
relationship.
not your best friend.
And so that's one of the things that we really have seen so much of.
Yeah.
That we are afraid
To be a parent.
to be a parent, and
Say
so we
no.
rescue
Yeah.
kids. We rescue them, and one of the things I'm most thankful for, many things with the parents that I had, but man, my parents did not rescue us from our own stupid self.
Natural consequences.
It was natural consequences. I think I shared one other time, we didn't have really set curfews, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. We didn't have a curfew, but by golly, we had to get up at 6:30 on a Saturday morning to go cut grass,
Yeah.
weed eat.
Or Sunday for church, yeah.
Or go to church. And so there was no laying in bed. Oh, he's tired. Give him some. No.
Yeah. He was up all night with his
you
friends.
stayed out and,
Yeah.
and soared with the turkey vultures, and now
Yeah.
guess who the turkey is. So,
Yeah.
so stop rescuing your kids from their decision making.
Yeah. Let's get back to that friend thing. I cannot tell you how many parents will say, I'm their best friend, or, she's my best friend. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that happens when they're adults. We have a 28 and a 25-year-old. And yes, I will say now that they're a friend. We have a friend relationship. I'm not telling them what to do, but there's a difference. We did a show back in October, on October 21st, called Who's the Boss? And to kind of make sure that we do not turn over the house to the kids. Sometimes we even do it to a toddler, but especially a teenager. They should not be running the show. They should not be calling the shots. They should not be demanding your time and your schedule. You are still the parent, so act like it.
I see it all the time. I see kids running the show and parents feeling bad that they can't keep the the promise with
Right.
their kid. And all of a sudden the kid's throwing a tantrum. Mom, you said that.
Yeah, we could go get shoes today.
Yeah.
Mom, you said you were going to drive me up to that ball game. Mom, you said I can go buy this. You
Yeah.
know, be careful. Yes, I do think your yes should be yes and your no should be no. Be
Right.
careful the promises you make, but we want your word to be important. But do not let them run your schedule.
Yeah. You know, a couple weeks ago we had our son that's in the military came in, kind of surprise visited us. And it was awesome, right? We had a lot of fun with that. But it kind of messed up the family weekend in terms of the schedules.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, one of our younger ones, her schedule was getting altered.
Yep.
And she was very upset with
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And again, we understand that, but she really wanted us to kind of cater to what her schedule was. And you know, we just had to say no. You know, it's not that we love the older child more than the younger child.
Don't love you any
but
less.
there are changes that
There
happen.
are 5 children that we have in this family.
Yeah, and we're going to ask you to respect that, and if not, we're not going to waller in it with you, nor are we going to carry any guilt for
Right,
it. So
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not the center
And I
of
didn't
the
handle
family.
that perfectly. I need to make sure, and we need to make sure as parents, that we don't minimize
Right.
or
Yeah, like, oh, that's stupid. You shouldn't feel that way.
we need to listen and respect them, where they're coming from. We need to empathize. So I went back in and I told her, I said, I'm sorry, babe. I understand you're upset, but this is, you know, why we're doing it. Doesn't mean I love you any less. So we talked it through and it was better. But do not feed into the drama. You know, don't assume you know what they're going through. Here, she was more upset, hun, that I wasn't going to be driving her home and she was going to have to ride on the bus.
Yeah, so you could get home faster.
Than
and not to deal
me
with-
not being
yeah.
at something. So we had to work through that. But, you know, here we are. Also, hun, I really encourage parents to let go slow. You know, keep your finger on the pulse. Just because they think they can do it all. Maybe they have their driver's license so they can conquer the world on their own. You still need to be involved with their friends, their parents of their friends, you know, kind of check in on where they're at. I used to do a horrible job of that when I was a teenager, and my parents did not check in on me, and I was doing some poor things and making bad choices, and no one was holding me accountable. No one
Yeah.
was following up with me where I was. Was I really spending the night over so-and-so's house? Well, how about you call so-and-so's mom or text their parents or message them and see, is so-and-so over there? Did you drive them home? You know, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, hey, we want to present a quick challenge for you guys. And one is, you know, take a quick assessment of how you're getting along with the teenage parenting situation. All right. You take a look at it. Are you frustrated every day? Are you pulling your hair out? Is it causing other angst within relationships?
What are
within
you
your family?
modeling at home?
What are you modeling at home? And then, you know, we say this time and time again. Mom and dad, get on the same page.
Game plan.
Get on the same page. Get a game plan. Even in divorce situation, I've said this a million times over. It is well spent time and money, if you need to get a mediator to say, let's come together and let's figure out a plan that we can both agree on how to interact and raise our
And
teenagers.
you do that privately away from the children so they don't see the divide and they don't try to manipulate in there. But then you call a family meeting. You confess where you've gone wrong. You know, you introduce some changes. You know, I mentioned one family did that with technology. You know, it's so important. And also get some positive role models. Surround your family with other adults. Our 2 oldest were teens, and we asked them this question: if you couldn't come to mom or dad with a problem, who would you go to? And the old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. You need to put other people around your children that they can go to that will positively influence and help them.
Yeah, sometimes those people can do a lot more than you can as a parent to get a message home.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to wrap things up. My gosh, this went so quickly. You know, one of the cool things that we would just say here is our older kids have had enough time now out of our house that now they're actually having their own children. And we, without going into all the details of it, we had for your birthday, got a little note from our older son, and him just thanking us for being parents that were steadfast and loving and not perfect, right? And he told us about that too.
Yeah.
But we just want to let you know that this does come back around and feed you. So,
and if we can help you, we know that we went through this and we didn't get to everything we wanted to. But if you need some help out there, please seek help. Seek help from a pastor or a counselor, or call us at Rock Solid Families, or message us at rocksolidfamilies.org. We're here to help. The season will not last forever. You are not alone, and God has some beautiful things on the other side. So thank you so much for our sponsors, Buffalo Wings and Rings, La Rosa's Pizza, Maxwell Construction, and Greendale Cinema for their support. And we just thank you for listening to Rock Solid Radio. So have a great night and a great week. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard this evening, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, La Rosa's and Buffalo Wings and Rings in Greendale, Indiana, Greendale Cinema, and Maxwell Construction. If you have questions you'd like answered on air or want to chime in on something you heard this evening, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday evening at 7:30 for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in on your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3.